Our session today, our session today is Outcomes Get Retention and Employment Data When You Need It. My name is Neve O'Mahony and I'm here as job speaker.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bob Slayman. I am the sales director here at Job Speaker. Thank you all very much for attending. We are also joined by Jarlath O'Carroll, our CEO.
Good morning, all. I'm Jarlath. Thanks for joining and looking forward to the discussion today. Beth?
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Beth Waters. I am the Workplace Internship Coordinator at San Joaquin Delta College.
And sorry, I got stuck here. Sorry. Sorry. And Michelle, sorry.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Michelle Castellon. I'm the program manager for the Workforce Development Center at San Joaquin Delta College. Thank you for joining us.
We will be using some polling software today. There is a link in the chat and there's also a number to text if that's a little bit easier for you, or you can pop your answers into the chat.
I know some of you were at CCCAOE last week or the other week, and then some of you couldn't attend and maybe couldn't attend the session then or couldn't attend at all. So this opportunity to kind of redo our session that we did at CCCAOE was afforded us just during the conference, right? That was decided, or soon before or soon thereafter. So welcome, glad you could join us now. And looking forward to the discussion today. As Neve said, the poll software is just an easy way for us to get some interaction going in the session and open up the discussion a bit more. And with that goal, let's start that discussion with if you could fly anywhere, just to make sure the polling software is working. Clearly it is. Somebody's already responded. Where would you go? Never been to Bali, Italy. Yeah. I would go to Barcelona. That would be my favorite spot to go.
Oh, nice. I always get great ideas from this question.
Right, don't be shy. If you have the details on the text, so thanks for those who responded. But for the rest of the session, please don't hold back. We got a few other questions coming up. So a quick agenda for today. We'll do some kind of quick introductions and overview. We've kind of already done that. We'll do an overview of outcomes and what outcomes mean to us and what outcomes maybe mean to you. And then we'll talk about a specific example at San Joaquin Delta, and that's why Michelle and Beth have joined us today, what they're doing with their 1000 internship program. And then we'll talk more specifically about how to collect outcomes and employment data at your school, outcomes overall and employment data specifically. So that's the agenda. Please don't be shy. Use either the questions that we're asking or the chat to interact. And please add your details in the chat: name, title, college, institution that you work at. Thank you. All right, to get us going, I'm going to ask, what does outcomes mean to you? Because outcomes means a lot and can encapsulate a lot of different things, but what does outcomes mean to you?
Are we just supposed to speak up whenever?
You can put it in the, you can, if you have other questions, yeah, sure, please speak up. You can also just enter your answers into the poll.
Oh, back in the polling thing. I got you. Thank you.
All right, thanks. But it's meant to be an interactive session here today, so don't be shy. If you have something to say, please do speak up.
Okay, I lost the link to the survey thing, but I think about employment outcomes with the community colleges.
Yep. And you're not alone. So of the people that responded so far, like three of the four have said jobs, job, or placement. So very much in line, right? Employment outcomes, employment placement outcomes. Yeah. All right. What does outcomes mean to your students? Slightly different tact. Stability. That's an interesting one. Wages, earnings, living wage, I assume. Yep. Living wage, somebody doubled down on living wage. Yep. The other way we say that is a meaningful career, which hopefully translates into a living wage as well. Okay. A pathway, career pathway, stability, earning, alignment. Maybe in the chat, whoever put alignment in, is that career alignment? Is that pathway alignment? Sorry, when you're putting in something in these, you have to put a dash between the different words so we can see it kind of splits up the words. Okay, but career alignment, pathway alignment, stability, living wage again, earning a living wage. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so what I wanted to start off with is just acknowledging that today is different. Today is different than it was, 5 years ago, and it's certainly different than it was when I went to school or my parents went to school. Right, my parents' generation stuck in one job and kind of followed this happy path. Right, they started in high school, maybe they went to post-secondary, got some career training, and ended up in a job. And for example, with my father, he stayed in the same position or the same company for almost 40 years. That rarely happens now. And as you'll see in a minute, employers are looking for more and varied types of skills now. And then a career, while coming out of secondary or a higher ed, does get you into a career. It's the kind of the beginning of the journey, not the end, right? And so the landscape has changed significantly, particularly for those that are going through education recently or going through education now. And what that means to any one individual is very varied. And the average number of jobs that they're going to have in a lifetime is between 7 and 20. So those that are in high school or higher ed today, they'll have between 7 and 20 different careers. And so outcomes from our perspective is very different, depending on who your students are, because they come at you with from different points in their life. They're not all on the happy path, as I said. They're not all coming from high school. They're coming, and particularly post-pandemic, they're coming with different expectations, different demands. You've heard this. The pandemic has kind of accelerated the move towards some automation, but all of these jobs are under significant threat of automation over the next 2 decades. And this is due to kind of the underlying trend of automation across lots of industries, where IT and technology and AI, et cetera, are kind of increasing they are increasing the rate of change across many different industries. And jobs that we had as at least I'll speak for myself, the jobs that I had when I was growing up don't exist anymore, right? I used to be, if anybody is from Europe, I used to be a bus conductor. If anybody remembers one of those, collecting fares on a bus. They don't exist anymore, obviously, and I don't think even the bus drivers collect fares anymore. It's all on a card, right? So very, very different. What's the point? The point is that the labor market is changing dramatically. So the outcomes for certainly my parents' generation, for our generation, for my generation, and our students are very, very different now than they used to be. And certainly the outcomes for the expectations of employers have also changed significantly. What does that mean? It means it's going to have an effect on your students and what they're expecting and what they need as they go into the workforce. And as you can see here, these stats that we pulled from, I forget, I think it was a McKinsey study and a Georgetown workforce study. The skills that students and people have in the workforce today are most of them, or 50% of them, are going to be outdated by 2025. And that's not far away, obviously, right? There's already 36 million people that have some post-secondary, but not a certificate of degree, and they're missing out on that uptick in wage as a result of having that credential. But there's also some interesting data now, again, coming out of Georgetown, that suggests that depending on your career, depending on your pathway, as somebody mentioned earlier, that may have lesser or more of an effect if you have that degree or credential or not. Some people coming out of high school, if they go into specific careers, can make more than lots of people that go for a secondary or third level degree. So it's a very varied landscape. So in that context, outcomes from our perspectives are very different. Bob?
You
Got to get off mute, right? So to keep that kind of rolling forward, we talk about the Great Resignation now, right? This is just accelerated. Certainly in the past few months and year or so. So that there's a lot of people concerned about career growth, and a lot of people in the job market that know that they need reskilling. They need to follow that through to a new career. Next slide, Charlie. We also know that companies are looking more for soft skills today than they ever have been, right? They're looking for problem solving and creativity and critical thinking. Those are the things that they're most focused on. They know that they can fill in the gaps of what a potential employee needs to know along the way, but they really need those soft skills for sure. So potential employees need a way to display that, to show that to employers. So the next question that we have for everybody in the polling software, who is already doing or is looking to do short-term reskilling with their organization? See, somebody already jumped in with unsure where to start. I'm sure you're not alone in that.
Yeah, that we're curious about this because we've seen and heard a lot of, as I'm sure you have as well, a lot of demand for short-term reskilling, particularly post-pandemic, to get people from one career to the next. And we're seeing this across the labor force, right? In workforce agencies and in educators like yourselves, and other related industries or institutions. Okay, thank you. So when we talk about skills, and skills from our perspective are an outcome, right? So that the students that are coming to you for whether it be short-term training or a certificate, a degree, etc., can benefit from knowing the skills that are embedded in that coursework, and then take those skills into the labor market and show employers what they can do. Essentially, show them that these are the skills that they've earned. With that, alongside that piece of paper, or sometimes, particularly with those short-term programs, there's not necessarily a piece of paper that goes along with it, but there are skills that goes along with that training that those individuals can take as an outcome and bring them into the job market. Basically, what we're saying here is a skill-based approach is a means to help you and to help the individual students that you're serving to see the things that align with their career path, that they're earning in the classroom to help that individual see the jobs and the opportunities that those skills are afforded to them by virtue of seeing the kind of cross industry demand for those skills. So for as just a quick example, medical assisting, as an example of a course that a student might take. So medical assisting, typically what individuals do today is they search, if they graduate from a medical assisting course, they search for medical assistant. And they don't see that the skills they earned in the classroom, the courses that they just completed, makes them qualified for lots of different opportunities in healthcare and not just that medical assisting job. So it helps them see the variety of pathways, a variety of jobs that are available to them. And as it says in the last bullet here, the jobs that are within and between different roles, different industries, different sectors. And it levels the playing field for all to ensure that there's much more equity as a student is presenting themselves to an employer. They can present all of the skills they've earned and at a granular level so that the employer can see and almost feel what that student has earned. So outcomes for us is what we call a skills transcript, something that they can take and they can leverage into the different types of jobs and different types of fields that they're looking for in order to express those skills in a way that employers can understand, see the background to those skills and those outcomes so they can better present themselves to the world of work and stay on the path, as somebody mentioned. Get into a path with our Guided Pathways platform, then help the students earn those skills along that pathway with your help with those events. And we'll talk about work-based learning in a second with Michelle and Beth. With the mentors, essentially, and your advisors, and the other part of the equation here, the employers that sometimes get forgotten as ultimately the people that are going to hire your students based on those outcomes. So helping your students articulate those outcomes from the coursework that you're taking, you helping them build their confidence around that pathway with the outcomes that they're earning and with the additional input from events, work-based learning, mentoring, etc., that you can put in front of them along the way. So I think before we go on and introduce or let Michelle and Beth take over, we'll just pause for a second, see if there's any questions. Is there anything in the chat, Niamh?
Not at the minute, anyway.
Any other questions from the audience before we move on? No? Okay. All right. So thank you, Michelle and Beth, for being willing to participate again in the session, and I'll let you take it from here.
All right. Again, good morning, everybody. My name is Michelle Castanon. I am the program manager of the CTE Workforce Development Center. And with me today is Elizabeth Waters, my colleague, and she is our workplace internship coordinator. Next slide, please. So we wanted to discuss today about our work-based learning program that we have implemented. This past May, the CTE, Career Technical Education and Workforce Development Division here at Delta College, we had the goal of providing the opportunity to all of Delta College students, but most in particular, our CTE students. So what we did is we put in partnership with the leaders of our community and employers, our industry partners, of course. And Delta came up and founded the 1000 Internship Initiative. This was a critical effort as students that were already ready to enter the workforce. They were often faced with potential employers that preferred candidates with experience in the field. So a significant number of our students completing their program have not had the opportunity to apply their learned skills because of the lack of experience, which was being overlooked. This initiative provides a much needed opportunity for students to apply those learned skills, as well as helping their financial needs. When we look at the objective, San Joaquin Delta College committed $2 million in support of this initiative. A request had also been made to all of our industry partners to match the commitment to a one-to-one or to provide the internship opportunities to Delta College students. The commitment for a donation, we also request of 25%, however, is not required to participate in our program. The commitment of the internship for the employer and the student would be for the duration of one full term with the option of an extension to continue training. So the one full term that we're looking at is at 12 weeks. Delta College will be the temporary employer of record and also cover all of the salary and insurance liabilities while the students are participating in the internship. We were also able to move forward and partner with the San Joaquin County, and they are matching us another $2 million. So again, we have now a total of $4 million that's being allocated to support the initiative. This really was a significant impact in our community and in particular for our students as they entered the workforce. Additionally, this funding will allow the college to sustain the initiative beyond the funds allocated by the district and also by our Board of Trustees. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide and we'll talk more about the program details and with the process. So we came together, Beth and I, and built the program itself. So we took the interested students and employers and set them up in JobSpeaker for their accounts and hosted opportunities for them to learn in orientation setting and creating their postings. From there, Beth and I are working directly with the employers and also with the students as we're looking to match them up between the program of study and the required skill sets that are specifically used within the JobSpeaker system. We are asking the employers again to make this a real world experience. So they are setting up interviews and reviewing applications and making the final decision. Delta College is not indicating who they must hire. It is completely based upon the interest of the employer in finding a match specifically with our students on our campus. From there, our employers, they do let us know who their selection process has made through their selection process. And we forward them on to our Delta College Human Resources Office because again, Delta College is the employer of record. So they are considered Delta College employees and they must go through our process for employment. The office then will go through, as they're treating them as employees, they are also going through the live scan background clearance, requiring our students to do the TB clearance and also a few mandated reporting, which are completed online. Once the students has gone through all of that process, we get the green light and they are cleared to begin our work-based learning internship. So next slide, please, and we'll go ahead and review the documentation, which was be holding the student and the employer accountable. So for the onboarding process, we really tried to make this a paperless internship and very easy because of the virtual environment that we are in. Now the internships itself, they can be either virtual, in person, or in a hybrid format. So with that, we are moving forward and doing the paperwork as much as we can online. We do ask for our industry partners who are participating to complete and sign an industry training agreement. And with that, they are also creating with the student learning objectives. From there, we are asking 2 additional reports. So again, we're looking at holding the students accountable and making sure that they are fulfilling their student learning objectives within the 12 weeks. So the first report will come halfway into the program. So at week 6, there's a short report that they will fill out. It is completely based from the student's point of view. However, we are asking the employer to also sign off on it to verify the work that has been done, the accomplishments or any challenges. And then at week 12, we do have a final report again that wraps up the entire internship, asks how the experience was. And then from there, we also are reviewing the timesheet. And with that, every week, we are providing information out to the employers and they are verifying the hours. So again, Delta College is the employer record, but it is the site supervisor that is seeing the students directly and mentoring them and helping them expand their skills. So they're the ones that are keeping a report on the hours worked, and we are confirming that so that way we can pay our students. Our students are considered short-term employees and they are getting paid once a month. As they're wrapping up their 12 weeks, we do have an evaluation for both the student as well as the employee, which are 100% confidential. At this point, we do have a few students that have reached their week 12, and we do have employers who have asked for an extension. So that has been really exciting for us, as they're going to be now going on a round 2 for their learning experience, because there has been so much for the students and the employers to really connect with. As we go through our next slide, I'm going to go ahead and hand the presentation over to Beth, who will now go through the details on the coordination of the program, including the student employer preparation and utilizing JobSpeaker.
Thank you, Michelle. So one of the things I did want to comment on was student eligibility for our program. Students have a requirement to meet the eligibility standards that we've set up. So our students, they must be a current student, first of all, and they also need to be in good academic standing. And that means a GPA of at least 2.0 or higher. Our students need to be at least 18 years old. And the internship that they're applying for really needs to be in their program of study, because this is where they're going to gain that real world work experience and use their academic training to gain those skills. And a lot of our students are, this is the first time working. So they're also learning those soft skills that Jarlath was talking about earlier. And then most recently, our students need to be vaccinated. This is something brand new that just came down last week. So that is something Michelle and I are working on through our human resources department. But so now I want to talk a little bit about engagement between students and employers. And the next 3 slides I'm going to be talking about are used as part of our training for our employers. We're using JobSpeaker to manage the 1000 internship initiative. And this goes from employer internship listings to student applications and then hiring the interns. The system, the JobSpeaker system, is tracking all of our data for us. So we're able to measure the outcomes using YouVerify and the reporting tabs in JobSpeaker. The 1000 internship initiative and using JobSpeaker to case manage the program has really provided a much closer student and employer relationship with us and our department at Delta. We're really getting to know our community through this effort of training and interaction between students and employers. For students, one of the things we did, we worked with our marketing department and created a 3-minute training video for students to showcase the steps on how to register and set up their JobSpeaker profile. All of our internships are listed on JobSpeaker, and so it's really important for our students to understand they need to be on JobSpeaker and have a completed profile to properly apply for one of the internships. So I facilitate JobSpeaker training for students every 2 weeks in a workshop format. And then I will also meet with students one-on-one to assist them with setting up their account, their profile, and helping them job search and find the opportunities. Students are instructed to complete their entire JobSpeaker profile, to attach an external resume and cover letter, and that makes their application that much stronger so that the employer can see what the student is all about. Students are also trained on how to search for opportunities and then how to use the one-step apply button in JobSpeaker. And that makes it really easy for the student to submit their application for review and consideration by the employer. And then for employers, like Michelle said, we facilitate orientations for our employers every 2 weeks. We talk about the 1000 Internship Initiative. We introduce and explain that we're using Job Speaker to manage the program, and then provide step-by-step instructions on how to set up their company profile, add a company description, and a logo for marketing their brand. And then how to post a job listing and use the applications tab to manage their intern candidates and view their profile and external documents. So here on this slide, this is just a sample of the job applications tab and students that have actually applied to an internship. And so the job application tab really allows employers to see all their applicants, and then they can click on the view button. And the information, once they click on the view button, that bottom card will show up, and they will see everything all about that one intern that has applied. So they'll be able to see their name, their phone number, email address. They can view their job speaker profile, and then any external documents they've attached, like their resume and cover letter, and then also their availability status. So we review this in depth because this is actually one of the most important pieces for our employers to understand is how to use this tab. So let's go to the next slide. So reporting outcomes is really important for us. And so part of the communication and reporting what's going on with a student intern is using the override status button. That top arrow is pointing to the override status button. And this is really the button that helps employers and me communicate with each other in terms of the job applicants. So there's a note-taking system, and it allows employers and me to keep track of what we're doing with that candidate. So clicking on the override status button, there is a selection of different options for us to use. All applications come in an open status. One of my responsibilities when I'm reviewing candidates, I'm doing a pre-screening before the employer actually goes in and starts looking at their candidates and who's applied for their positions. So what I'm looking for is that eligibility status. So it's a pre-screening of, are they a current student? What is their GPA? Are they in good academic standing? Are they at least 18? And then have they applied to an appropriate internship? So once I review all of those things, I change the status to ready to interview. And then in the note-taking system, I will put some notes in there. And this is my way of communicating to the employer that they can now go ahead and contact that student and schedule them for an interview. But so I change it to ready to interview, and then my notes will say current student in good academic standing. And that's the green light for the employer to contact the student. So Job Speaker really is the case management tool for the program. And by using the job applications tab, we can see which students have applied. And then using the override status as our note-taking system between me and the employers, we can determine the status of the candidate's applications. And if a student is rejected, perhaps they have not met the eligibility requirements, we'll use the rejected button and put in there, student does not meet the minimum eligibility requirements. And so that's kind of the red light to the employer that the student has not met the requirements, and please do not contact them for an interview because I have stopped that process. Any of the other status buttons the employers can use, maybe they've set up an interview, maybe paperwork is in progress, maybe they've hired the individual. So these status buttons really are a good indication of the outcomes. So using the note-taking system and the status really helps us to determine what we're doing with that student. The outcomes are reported directly in U-Verify and in the report section of JobSpeaker. And that way we can easily access what our metrics are. So that's how we are using JobSpeaker for our program. And without using JobSpeaker, I'm not sure that we would be able to capture all of the data that we need to report for this system. So now I'm going to hand it over to Michelle and we'll take it to the next slide.
So as you've heard this morning, there have been a lot of positive factors and motivators in implementing our work-based learning opportunity, such as this internship program for our skill building on our campus and in finding outcomes. Additionally, as a bonus, this actually was a great timing in response to the COVID pandemic as students were losing their jobs. We were able to provide them the work experience opportunities, helping them to enhance their skills, to gain the industry knowledge, and also to assist in their financial needs. Overall, some of our highlights from the program since we have started in May, they do include an increase in students signing up for JobSpeaker. We have recently been able to utilize our single sign-on to promote the work-based learning opportunities. And with this, the ability to really create direct communication to our students. Additionally, we have seen the increase in the one-step application process. So it's very user-friendly for our students. We have been able to see the increase in hire and verification for our reporting purposes, which was previously a gap that we had. Overall, just in meeting our reporting metrics. So the students that are being placed and employment within their field of study. And most importantly, our students are really gaining that valuable real world experience. Again, as I mentioned, you're getting that mentorship, they're gaining that networking and a career pathway. This has also been a great opportunity for our employers because they're able to see the new workforce that's coming their way. Ideally, the goal of the program as well is for employees, our employers, as they're going through and seeing their new employees. With this internship, it would also create a pipeline of new candidates for their positions as they do become open. So again, overall, this has been a 100% positive factor for us here at Delta College. This concludes our presentation on the 1000 Internship Initiative. If you have any questions, Beth and I are happy to discuss our program with you. We just are so happy to have it on our campus and it moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle and Beth. Appreciate that robust overview of your program and how it's going. That's fantastic work. I know one of the questions that came at our session last week was around the funding of the program. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Absolutely. So we actually have 3 funding sources. So Delta College was able to commit the $2 million, as I mentioned earlier in our presentation. We are utilizing the CARES funding for that. In addition, we got the $2 million donation specifically from our San Joaquin County Office of Supervisors. And then also our third source is going to be the donations that are coming in specifically from the industry partners that are associated with this program. So as a reminder, we are asking for 25% of the student wages. So over the course of 12 weeks, that's about $900 per student. So what we're doing is offering the 12 weeks up to 20 hours a week. So of course, part-time status, because students are students first. This is for them to gain that extra beneficial educational learning experience, work experience. And then we are paying them $15 an hour. as well as covering all of their insurance and liabilities. So the money that we're coming in as the private donation, specifically from the industry partner at the 25%, really is going to help us allow us to grow and keep the program going beyond the year and a half that we had intended it for. So that's our goal. So 3 funding sources: the college itself, the San Joaquin County, and then the private donations.
Great, thanks, Michelle. I appreciate that. That extra detail. I know that like I said last time, there was plenty of people curious about that. Any other questions for Michelle or Beth? You can unmute yourself or chat if you have any other questions. Okay. So what I'd like to move on to now is kind of the third part of our system or our discussion today. What we talked about, so basically 3 parts, right? So first part was talking about outcomes and what are they, and kind of a challenge or asking you to think about outcomes as not being just necessarily the jobs. Obviously, jobs are important, but thinking about outcomes from a student perspective and the skills that they need to earn in order to be to get those meaningful jobs, to build that meaningful career over their lifetime. Second piece from Michelle and Beth around their program, which is using basically work-based learning in their community and building relationships in order to achieve the outcome for their students and for their community at large, to basically build that ecosystem of college to student to employer, and helping them basically collaborate together to create the jobs for jobs and opportunities for both employers to grow and for their students to get the right opportunity in their community. The third piece I'm going to talk about now is around data collection overall, right? And to the question up front, we said, what's outcomes to you? And you said employment data. And we know that is an important aspect of what the state is looking for around collecting data and outcomes. And the reason we also wanted to focus on work-based learning today is because I don't know if some of you saw Shani's conversation at CCCAOE, but most of that focused on work-based learning and the need for more work-based learning, and certainly tracking work-based learning. And it's definitely an outcome that the state is looking to gather data on, as well as I'm sure you're aware, there's lots of funding coming from federal initiatives as well around apprenticeships, to increase the number of apprenticeships, and from the state with Gavin Newsom's challenge for, I think it's 500,000 apprenticeships by 2030, I think. So obviously a significant step up from where we are today. But just in terms of employment tracking, we wanted to share with you what we're doing with the Central Valley, and collecting data around employment that helps you understand what's going on with your students today, so that you can make decisions around what to do tomorrow. So the way we approach this, like I said, we're working with the CRC consortium, and we developed a program with them where we can collect data on multiple times throughout the year for both existing students and alumni. And let me explain why. Right, so the existing students first. The reason we're collecting data around existing students is we want, or your colleges want to understand what's happening with your student body as you, let's say, leave for the summer term and fall, and what's going to happen with the student body as they return for either summer or a return for fall. Are the majority of your students going to return? Let's say in a welding course, are the majority of those students going to return for fall semester, or are they going to go into employment? And understanding what's happening for those students that are currently on your campus, but might be about to leave. So understanding that and collecting data around that. Then obviously alumni, as they leave and they graduate, collecting data around employment in a consistent manner across the region so you can report it to the state as well as report it locally within your community and understand what's happening kind of day to day, term to term. This looks very complicated. I know it may be hard to read on your device there on your window, but let me quickly walk through the process. So basically what it is YouVerify, as Michelle and Beth already mentioned, helps you collect data around outcomes for your students. As I said, so the entry point is creating a survey. That survey can be sent out via email or via text. From if you already have a text mechanism to text your students within your campus, you can take that link, that URL, and post it to your students via text. Once the user gets it, they go into the platform, they can log in or take the questionnaire as a guest. Now I'm down the bottom left-hand corner here. And the first question they get is, do you plan to continue at your community college next semester? In order to determine, essentially who's going to continue, how many of your students that respond are going to continue next semester, so you can get some feedback on whether or not that welding class is going to have 30 students in the fall or 20 or 10. So you can make some decisions actively about that information. If they are not going to continue, then what are they planning to do is the next question. Are you transferring into a 4-year? If not, are you going to employment? And then collecting all the data around employment. A question we've gotten before around this data is, well, what about CTOS? The data we're collecting around employment is meant to, what's the word? Enhance and sit alongside CTOS. We're not looking to replace CTOS. We're sit alongside it in order to help you collect even more data about your students and your students and employer engagement, student outcomes as they hit the workforce, right? So just to be clear on that. And now the next few slides, I'm just going to quickly run through what that looks like in the interface so you can see how it works. And so the first question, do you plan on continuing with community college next semester? Next question, if verification, if you're not continuing and you're going into employment, who is the employer? Details around the employer and the manager and email address, etc. And then verify email. Then employment details. What is your employer email address? What's the job title, start, end date, full-time, part-time, hours, salary, etc. And you're probably familiar with this if you know CTOS is the same type of data. Then we go a step level deeper, a level more granular in terms of helping you determine whether or not this job for this particular student is in field or aligned with their education, in order to, by seeing how many skills they're using from their coursework in the job, and helping you see what types of skills are in demand in the workforce by the employers across different fields, and basically enabling your students to sort of verify that the skills that they earn through your coursework are actually being used in their job. And then just finishing it off and closing out with a signature on behalf of the student, and then that data is collected in the system. So I will stop there and just see if there's any other questions before I let Bob kind of begin to close, and see if there's any other questions overall. Neve or Bob, is there any questions in the chat or anything?
Nothing at the minute.
All right. Bob, do you want to take it from here then?
Yep, I think without any questions, we will just wrap up here. With this particular slide, what we wanted to show to everyone is these are the things that JobSpeaker as a solution, as a platform is focused on. So we've talked about a specific area with San Joaquin Delta about work-based learning and managing that, but there are a lot of processes within the product itself that we can help you manage along the way. And all of them, like a puzzle, fit together to really, increase engagement with students and help them through. And each piece of that puzzle gets supported, by the student, by the institution, by the employers, and it's all tied together with skills. So it's important to keep in mind that skills are kind of the common language that we've talked about here throughout the course of this. So being able to increase those skills and help students articulate them to potential employees is really the end goal of what we're trying to do. So with that all said, if there are any questions up to this point about anything that we went over in the session, please feel free to put them out to us. We'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I think that is a wrap for us in this session today.
We have nothing in the chat, so I think.
Right, that sounds like it. We can also make the presentation available to everyone. Those of you, I know you registered, so to get into the session, so we have your contact information. We will send out a copy of the presentation to you so that you have it and can review it.
I know CCC AOE is also going to be sharing the recording on their site, but if you want a copy of anything like Bob said.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, folks.
And thank you for the opportunity.